Hey man, how's it going?
Fine, Ross. Thank you very much for asking. I'm good. Did yourself?
Hi, I'm good man. What have you been up to?
That's significantly less than last week,
Oh really?
which was I. No, I did some things today, such as drive. I went into a big brand supermarket that shall not be mentioned because we're not sponsored by them. I did some driving and whatnot, but other than that, I've been sitting in the house. What about yourself?
Nice. Made some sourdough
You did
again.
that.
I did.
More?
Aye. Like
How many?
I've now made three sourdough loaves rather successfully, so I feel like
Like when you say
I'm,
loaves, do you mean like it's just a wee, or do you mean like loaf?
I mean like it's a
Brick
fucking
loaves.
it's a fucking loaf. Like
Nice.
um like since I've made three now, I feel like I've mastered it.
Aye, well, three and you're done, right? It's,
Aye,
practice doesn't make perfect. Three makes perfect.
aye. If you do
Aye,
three successfully, then
aye,
that's you.
aye.
You're
Go.
a fucking master baker.
I always knew you were a master baker, Russ.
um, and we planted some stuff in the garden.
Ah, cool. Because I seen your wee shed thing, whatever
Aye,
you're calling it.
it's a cold frame.
Ex shed now cold frame.
Aye, we
Yeah, cool.
repurposed the old shed that we told in a couple of weekends ago, and made a cold frame. Well, it's just a box with a slanted lid with some perspex on it.
Yeah, cool. So, what are you planting?
We planted some broad beans. You don't like broad beans?
I don't like beans. I don't like pulses.
What's wrong with you?
I'm a normal human being.
We also planted some Brussels sprouts.
Horrific.
What?
They taste like mini farts.
That's not true.
That is entirely true.
Man, you're not having them, you're not cooking them the right way then. You need to, like, parboil them, chop them up a wee bit, file them in a frying pan with some bacon and butter.
And then chuck them in the bin. Yep, that's usually what I
Ah,
do.
that's amazing.
Yeah,
And also some red bell peppers.
nice. I could
Yeah,
eat them.
nice.
One for three.
Once this is over, we'll invite you over for some peppers.
Cool.
Um,
Stuffed like peppers, maybe. With some bacon.
let's
'Cause
let's not
I
go
like bacon.
nuts.
Ah, right. Just peppers.
You can have a pepper.
Cool. Yeah, I'll take it.
Hey.
Free food is free food.
And also got like habaneros growing. You can have one of them as well if you'd like.
Absolutely not.
No,
No.
you don't like the spice.
I'm not a fan of the spice. Do you remember that last chili that you made at the cottage? And
Vaguely.
then Alex pretty much put his watch on me, and I was in like a cardio zone. And your chili was only made out of like jalapenos. It wasn't even that
Aye.
spicy. But I was sweating buckets.
Aye.
Spicy food, no for me.
That's fair. Like the one of the, I think it was maybe the first Comic Con down at the Citadel that was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Um, where it was maybe the second one actually, because you were at the Citadel, and I was
Ah, sure.
me and Kayla were manning the cafe,
Mm-hmm.
and I had made a chili, and a guy came in and ordered some, and he was sitting there, and his face went bright red, and he was sweating, and like,
Jeez.
and Kaylee was Kaylee was really worried. She was like, "You've made that chili too spicy. Like that guy's gonna have a heart attack. Look at him." And it turned out like he had his gallbladder removed at some point,
Alright.
like some time ago, which um, inhibits your ability to process spicy food or something like something like that. I can't quite remember the exact
Jeez.
explanation, but there was some medical reason that for him sweating so profusely and going to beetroot red.
See,
But
maybe I should check for like a wound, see if my gallbladder's been like removed without my nose.
nice.
Yeah, I don't see any right now, but
You ever woke up in an ice bath?
no, not that I can recall. Like, I think I was just really drunk and somebody just like cowbelled it, just whoosh, gallbladder done.
Just slashed it. Right.
Maybe.
Cool. Hello, audience, and welcome to Box Talks with Unboxed. Maybe weekly podcast where we might talk about some stuff.
Or also things. Stuff and things.
Hey, maybe.
Well, maybe, yeah, of course.
We might talk about stuff.
And or things then.
Hey. Well.
Yeah.
Hey, okay.
Sure.
We can have that. Like a maybe weekly podcast where we might talk about some stuff and all things.
Hey, I'm into that.
All right. That's what we'll go with then.
Yeah, cool. I mean, you can keep it your way if you want. Like, just
no. It's fine.
Doesn't matter.
I don't mind.
Your face is in the
And this week we've got a special guest. Hello, Jen.
Hello, I'm Jen, and I would like to open by saying I also hate beans.
Hey,
what?
Beans are awful, man. What are you doing planting broad beans? And Brussels sprouts definitely taste like fart.
No, these are both wrong.
To be fair,
people say
if you shallow fry them in copious amounts of butter and unreasonable amounts of bacon, you can't taste the Brussels sprouts, and that's the only situation in which they're good.
Oh, but I mean, you can still. Well, but still, I like them.
There's lots of salt and pepper, butter, bacon. They're there for padding out, not for taste.
I admit that the bacon and the butter does slightly mask the taste of.
Yeah, especially when you're having your Christmas dinner along with a bunch of stuffing and gravy and turkey. So you definitely can't taste the Brussels sprouts. But then you might as well just have like fried bacon with pepper. Honestly.
But it's Brussels sprouts, man. It's like Christmas.
Yeah, that's the problem, Ross.
But no, sorry, I don't agree. I think Brussels sprouts are awesome. I would eat them
fair.
Any
That's
day
fair.
of the week.
I'm sure they'll appreciate the support.
So how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing honestly just so much, about as much as Blair was doing last week. All the time, every day.
Wow.
Waking up like 1 p.m, playing video games for like 8 hours, going back to sleep. Sometimes I forget to eat. It's a good life.
Happy days.
Yeah. No, mostly I've been playing like various video games like Rainbow Six Siege, or I've been doing a lot of D&D, like over Roll20 with a lot of the guys in the cafe, because I'm part of like 8 different campaigns. And then obviously a fair amount of Magic and stuff as well online. So
yeah, nice.
Sure.
We'll talk about some of that later.
Nice.
Yeah. But first there's the news segment.
Yeah,
there is.
We do ourselves here.
The news.
Aye.
Oh.
Blair, you're our news correspondent.
This week's news, I've got nothing. Over to you, Ross.
Okay.
Sure.
I only came across a couple of things. There was a contest run by WOTC and the Make-A-Wish Foundation to win a trip to the Wizards HQ when it's safe to travel and stuff.
Nice.
And also get to design a Magic card.
Ooh.
Which is pretty cool.
Very interesting.
You get like a free entry for nothing, and then there's tiers of entries. Like the $10 gets you 100 entries, 25 is 250, and it goes up to $100 for 2,000 entries.
Jeez.
So if you're interested in that, like the deadline is the 30th of June. Maybe a cool thing to enter. There was also like the Joe Manganiello Omaze contest.
Yeah.
Where you could win like a trip to Wizards HQ.
Jeez.
And play D&D with Joe Manganiello.
Which would be awesome.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Definitely in like my top 10 people in the world to play like D&D with.
Judi Dench is solidly above.
Judi Dench definitely up there, especially considering if you're playing D&D with Judi Dench, you're probably also playing D&D with Vin Diesel, because Vin Diesel taught Judi Dench how to play D&D on the set of Riddick.
Yeah, totally.
That'd be excellent.
Aye, totally. I don't know who else. Do you know of anybody else that's like big into D&D, like super famous people?
I mean, honestly, most voice actors are, because it's like free practice. It's fun. A good number of like just people who are in Hollywood also play D&D. A lot of them are not wildly open about it, but will say that they have at some point.
Nice.
I can't think of anyone specifically off the top of my head, but it's a really popular thing, particularly in like in and around LA and Hollywood and like Central Broadway and New York and stuff like that. So
yeah, I mean, like you say, it's kind of improv practice.
Yeah.
If nothing else. Also came across the Small World of Warcraft.
Did you see it?
Yeah. Read an article about it.
It looks awesome.
It looks cool. Unfortunately, Days of Wonder, who I think are actually owned by Asmodee now, shocker, they've declined to note a specific release date or price, but they did say it was going to be available at some point in summer 2020.
Where everybody is just releasing their stuff.
Aye.
In the mythical timeline of summer 2020.
Aye, summer 2020. Just tell them summer 2020, it's fine.
Sure.
But no, it does look really cool. For anybody that's no familiar with Small World, it's a kind of fantasy area control game where you've got several races and traits which are all kind of mixed up, and you get wild combinations like bivouacking trolls.
Yeah,
a good one. Flying hobbits and all sorts.
The trading skeletons is probably my favorite combination.
Sure.
Totally. Is it raiding goblins?
Raiding goblins is good. The mining dwarves is the most busted happenstance combination you can get in the game because it just generates so much gold.
Well, I think flying wizards is technically the most broken because you can just like fly everywhere.
I mean, yeah, you can just like show up and flip like people, whoever and wherever, which is because it makes every like territory considered adjacent or something like that, and you can only flip adjacent tiles. So you can just be like, I want that one, which is pretty good, I guess. You know, being able to go anywhere and take anything seems fine, I suppose.
It means like people can, in an area control game, can't like control as many areas.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
they spread themselves too thin, and you get to.
You just show up. Yeah.
So is that based in the World of Warcraft universe?
That does sound very interesting, actually.
Yeah, it sounds great. Are you still
me? Right. Well, like my computer can't handle as much as I was hoping it could.
No.
So I've still got like a rogue. For like which I'm level 70, I believe, or 65 maybe. And I made a demon hunter class as well because it looked amazing.
Very cool.
So once I'm at max level, I'm going to make a character for like story only. And I think that'll be super fun.
Very nice. Like the World of Warcraft lore is awesome. Like it's expansive. There's so much work goes into it.
I felt like a lot of the time I was just rushing, like leveling up. Yeah. So I want to go back and like just experience as much as I can, by taking my time and whatnot.
Were you playing along with Sko as well? Like,
Sko is running me through a lot of dungeons and stuff. Cool. So I could see what his level 120 character could do, which looks insane. But I've never been to that level yet. So once I get there, it'll be super fun.
Yeah, cool. Did you ever run about Pandaland?
I've not quite been there yet.
No.
No.
That's beautiful.
Sure.
But anyway, also drafts are now available on MTG Arena.
Yes.
Yes.
There was a draft system before, but now it's people are drafting like in a draft set essentially.
Aye.
Whereas before it was just here's some stuff and they'll randomly take a card.
Yeah, both systems are still in use on Arena. It's called Quick Draft and Premier Draft. Quick Draft being essentially just drafting against the AI, which is interesting, but it's a totally different draft environment to a normal draft because you can kind of predict the kind of cards that the AI is always going to pick. It's quite formulaic in that way. So if you've drafted once or twice in a quick draft, you can pretty quickly put together a pretty powerful deck. And then obviously you're facing against other players that have drafted in the same environment. The thing where it becomes slightly more complicated with that is that there's an overabundance of certain cards. So when you go up into like a matchup that you think you've got like a really strong deck, and then somebody comes up with a similar deck but like got one more of a good card or whatever, which wouldn't really be as feasible in a normal 8-player draft, you just get slammed. With Premier Draft, it's really interesting because it does actually like it lets you read the table. It lets you like see what people are picking, check what's wheeling, and what kind of archetypes other people are going into. But that's not as important on Arena as it is in person, just because you're drafting against those people, but you're not actually going to be playing against those people. You're playing against other people who performed the primary draft because you have like 24 hours to finish like the games for a draft on Arena. It just goes up against other people in a queue. So that those signs that you're reading aren't necessarily going to be what you're up against. So you can have a really strong deck from within your pod and then go up against somebody that got like 3 first pick mythics and there's nothing you can do with that. Yeah, absolutely.
To use the popular
Yeah, the technical term, the Magic the Gathering lingo there is that you're toast.
Yeah. I thought that's what it was. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. 100%.
Yep. Also, in other cancellation news, Gen Con cancelled.
It did.
A couple of days ago, just announced it, which is another shame.
Absolutely.
Like no really a surprise by any means, though.
Yeah. If anything, it's surprising they held off this long. But I think it was just that kind of hope that it wouldn't end up being necessary.
So is it been postponed or just outright cancelled?
Straight up cancelled for this year.
Aye, not postponed until the 2021 Gen Con.
Yeah, not postponed till just the next time.
Sure. Cool.
That's my favourite thing.
Does that mean they've postponed like every other event by a year forever? Like they've just they've got like the next 5 years of like guests lined up, and they've just been like, you know what, year after that. Like is that what they're doing here? Like
eventually, I think there's going to be like a critical mass where like it's a big event. Let's just have both at once.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Spiel des Jahres 2022 and 2023.
Yeah,
sure.
Both in August 2023.
Yes.
Okay.
Cool. That's the news segment. That's all.
Hey, well done.
We're up to date with the world. Well, also in slightly more local and relevant news, like the route map for Scotland's kind of reopening of business, or like the easing of the lockdown measures was released this week.
It's a four-phase program, right?
4 phase, yeah. It looks like we'll be able to start operating as a shop again in phase 2.
Right.
So, like, me and Blair, we've not really spoke about this at all yet, but it might be a case of we open up the cafe maybe a couple of days a week, just as a shop, or what have you. I'm not really sure how it would work yet, but when it comes to like resuming our full kind of service as such, it will be like phase 4, which is probably looking like either the end of the year or into 2021.
But at least we've got like an idea of how it's going to open back up. Like it's not just like cool. It is now like February. We're in phase 4. Let's go. It's a gradual build up to us being fully back open, which will be nice. Like to kind of ease everybody back into the cafe.
Yeah, totally. I think even when we do open back up in full capacity, like it's going to be a very different landscape. Like the kind of measures we're going to need to put in place for social distancing is going to be a tough thing to work at, especially if you're trying to play a game with somebody, you know.
Playing board games is going to be difficult if hands are like so close to each other and stuff like that. But big groups like D&D tables and stuff like that, or RPG tables, that's going to be bizarre.
Tough.
It's going to be bizarre.
Really hard to kind of re-implement into the cafe. But we'll see.
We'll come up with some sort of plan and put it into action. Yeah. We'll call it an action plan.
What? Did you come up with that right there?
I've never heard anything so original and apt.
I've had like 3 coffees. I'm on point.
Man, you are on file today.
Amazing.
But so we've got that to look forward to.
So like in terms of like phase 2, it's essentially just going to be the back area that's going to be open. Like the cafe side of things isn't going to be function, right?
I think it will be like strictly retail.
I see.
Like no play space, no food service, anything like that. It's just going to be literally a shop. Which is a bit of a bummer.
It's going to be hard to like see it in the same light as it used to be. If we're only kind of like nobody's going to be able to like stick around essentially. Plus, you're going to have to be like people in, people out kind of deal, like X in, X out.
There's only going to have to be a very limited amount of people in the shop at any one time, and stuff like that. We've got to look to kind of try and figure it, and
a lot of preparation too.
Definitely. For one thing, we need to like
invest in
cafe and like budget
it. Absolutely.
Because it's been sitting empty for a wee while and the dust has gathered.
Sure.
But we'll get to that.
Sure.
So this week was the release of Ikoria. Behemoths of the
Layer of Behemoths.
That's the one.
Layer of Behemoths.
Yeah.
Although
you would think I would have wrote that down.
Or like had it somewhere. Maybe even have like booster boxes like in front of you so you can see the products.
I mean, no right in front of me right now, but I have walked past it in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, sure. that tracks.
Like anybody that comes into the cafe will know pretty well the extent of my magic knowledge, which is obviously expansive.
Absolutely
like
fantastic.
So much that it's almost like you don't know anything about the game.
Yeah,
like it's almost like you've had a mental block with how much you've just absorbed.
Yeah.
There's too much information to process at any one time, so I've got to kind of like buffer.
Sure.
And often it just takes too long, so it's just best to just no talk about it.
Yeah.
Sure. So Ikoria was released online in March, I believe.
Yes, I think it was the 17th, 15th or 17th was the online pre-release, and then it would have been the 22nd or 24th of March that was the online release for Magic the Gathering Online and for Magic the Gathering Arena.
Sure. So, like on the 15th of May, We got physical copies of the cards, so everybody has
Yes.
already been playing with them for like 2 months, and now they can buy the actual cards.
Yes.
It's
Uh,
worthwhile.
it's very good. I cracked a box, as you both know, because I paid you money for a box and then opened it. And it was a very satisfying experience. I got a lot of good cards.
Good.
Did you actually, or
Yes, I did actually. I got Loris the Dream Den and a foil the Loris the Dream Den also.
Oh, cool. Oh, you mean the card that was banned in Vintage?
The card that is the 4th ever card that doesn't refer to anti or as the card type conspiracy to be banned in Vintage in the 25 or 27 history, 27-year history of Magic. The others being things like Shahrazad that makes you play a sub-game of Magic under the table and dexterity cards, which is hilarious to me. Obviously, like the reason for that is one of the core mechanics that has been kind of brought in with Ikoria is the idea of companion, which is you get this special extra card that you can have outside of your deck in like your sideboard, that you name at the beginning of the game and you reveal it, and it has like a restriction on the card. So for Loris, it is all of the permanent cards, so that's like creatures, enchantments, planeswalkers, have to be 2 converted mana costs or less in your deck for you to be able to play this as your companion. And that's fine, but it means that because it's in your sideboard and you can cast it from your sideboard with these restrictions, you only ever need 1 copy in the deck.
And Vintage is known for not really banning cards; they restrict cards to
yes,
just 1
so
copy.
they make it 1 copy of the card in your deck. But because you can't interact with the card before it's cast because it's in the sideboard, if you don't have specifically a counterspell in your hand, they cast that spell and then they can cast permanent cards with CMC 2 or less from their graveyard once per turn. And in Vintage, there are things like Black Lotus that sacrifices itself to add 3 mana of any color, which is the most expensive Black Lotus ever sold was $87,000. So it's a powerful card.
But it's only restricted. Like,
and that's
card
restricted. Yeah, that's only restricted in Vintage. So the reason they have to ban it instead of restrict it is because you only ever need 1 copy. It's non-interactable and it's in your sideboard. You can cast it at any time you need it.
Yep.
So it's just an interesting look at the way that the mechanics from recent sets are impacting like much older formats.
Yeah, sure.
So what like new mechanisms have been introduced with Ikoria?
Well, obviously there's Companion is one of the big ones. The other one is Mutate, which is when you have a non-human creature on the battlefield. It can be any non-human creature, and you are holding a Mutate card in your hand. You can cast it for an alternative cost. It's usually either slightly cheaper or slightly more expensive, depending on the effect it has. Some of the more powerful ones have like really big game-changing effects. Some of the slightly cheaper ones will have like you get a 3/3 when you mutate this card, or you get to look at the top card if it's a land you put it into play. That kind of thing. But then the kind of big, more powerful ones that are more expensive have things like return your entire graveyard to the battlefield and like stuff like that. So it's a really variable and interesting mechanic that lets you're essentially fusing 2 creatures into 1 and they get all of the abilities of both creatures. So if you've got something that says Vigilance and Death Touch, and then you get something that you can mutate that says whenever this card mutates, create a 3/3. You mutate that on, and now you have like if it's say it's a 5/5, you've now got a 5/5 with Vigilance and Death Touch, and whenever it mutates, create a 3/3, and you get 3/3 for mutating it. So then when you get your next mutate card that says when you mutate this, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal an on-land permanent, put that into play. You do that, and you get to activate both of those mutate triggers twice because it is mutated twice. So it's a really interesting mechanic that has provided a lot of kind of weird strategies. It's not usual in Magic that you're kind of, unless you're playing like Commander and you're playing specifically like equipment matters, where you're making one creature really big with lots and lots of like swords, because you know it's always hilarious to give like a tiny frog 9 knives. which is one of the best things ever. But mutate is like putting all of these creatures into one, and it not really ever getting much bigger, unless it's like the thing you're mutating on is bigger than what it was before. So it's weird to have one creature that matters so much, but it's just not doing much other than when you actually cast another spell.
Cool.
Other mechanics were different types of counters been placed
Oh
on
yeah, the
creatures,
keyword counters.
which are new. Usually it's just +1/+1 counters, or you sometimes get like +2, +3, ice counters, loads of different counters, but they've added keyword counters, so you can now get a vigilance counter, a death touch counter. So stuff like that can be removed, which is interesting. So you can remove counters from things. It's quite bizarre.
What, could you remove death touch from a creature?
Well, so long as it had a death touch counter, and you had a card that said remove any type of counter from a creature,
right? So
then that creature could remove.
If a creature had death touch, you couldn't take that ability
No.
away.
No. If a card is printed with the word death touch on it, you can't remove that unless you have like one of like 3 cards that affects keywords.
Right.
And that's not so much removing the ability from the creature as removing the impact of the ability from the game. And then you've got like death touch counters from this new set that is, if you've got a normal creature with no other abilities and you cast the spell, you get the effect of the spell and also get to put death touch counter on this creature, meaning it now has death touch, as if it has been printed with death touch.
Right.
And then if you remove that counter from that creature, it loses the ability again.
That's quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a really really interesting thing that has made a lot of like combat tricks that are usually kind of low power and not very good, particularly in wider formats like Commander. The cards that are like instant speed, give a creature +2/+0 until end of turn. You might kill a creature, you probably won't, but if you're giving it a keyword that instead of just lasting till end of turn is now permanent, like giving a creature +2/+0 and indestructible, or death touch, or lifelink, and you're killing a creature and then keeping yours, or gaining a bunch of life from that, or making something survive removal or something like that, and then that effect lasts for the rest of the game, it's suddenly a lot more impactful, and you can really come out of nowhere with things like that. So it's been a really interesting kind of game-changing mechanic that's been brought in on top of all of these other like really high power. It's been a very high power set, quite controversial in some circles because of that. But that's mostly like 1 or 2 cards that have been stirring up older formats and causing a lot of problems there. But that's kind of a different matter.
Well, that's one of the things I was going to ask. Like, what's been the general kind of reaction? Like, like in the wider Magic community, but as well as in our in the Unboxed community.
In the wider community, it's been mixed. Akori itself is a fantastic set that the vast majority of people will say is a very, very good set, but particularly and specifically the companion mechanic that I mentioned earlier is something that has caused a lot of contention, particularly around cards like Luris that lets you gain so much value from your graveyard and you can't interact with it beforehand, or Karuga that enters the battlefield and can draw you like anywhere between 1 and like 12 cards at any given moment in a game. And these things are so powerful and game-changing, and it's essentially starting as an 8th card in your hand at the beginning of the game, to the point that if you are not playing a companion, you are actively playing a worse deck because you don't get that extra advantage at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, with companion, recently they made the London Mulligan rule, which was you can discard, or you can mulligan as per usual, reshuffle your deck and draw 7 cards, and then you can choose 1 to put underneath, and if you don't like that, go down to like draw 7, go down to 5, put 2 in the bottom. But now with companion, you've got a static 1 card in hand that won't change ever and can usually be fairly cheap. Like Luris is 3 mana, so you just need, like, if you go down to 3 cards in hand and there's 3 lands, then you've got a 4th card in hand that's worthwhile. because it can still generate value. With Karuga, you're drawing so many cards anyway that you can start with a hand that might typically not look so great, but gains value later on in the game. So like for people in like older formats like Modern, Vintage, Legacy, that's the kind of thing they're looking at. It makes the London Mulligan rule slightly better for most people, but only specifically if you play a companion.
Yeah.
So you like essentially you need to play a companion to generate more value.
Right.
And it's always interesting when a new mechanic comes in and shakes up the way a format plays. But this is shaking up in a way that hasn't really been healthy for a lot of the older formats. For instance, there was speaking of Magic Online, on Magic the Gathering Online, it's got like the Legacy Pro Tour qualifiers and Legacy events that go on like every month.
Yeah.
And one of the more recent ones was interesting because of the top 36 decks in the competition that went on, and this is because it's on Magic the Gathering Online, it's for essentially real money. It's tickets is the currency that are used on Modo, but it's those can be kind of cashed out, and those can be traded for actual card value that you would otherwise have to pay real money for.
Right.
So it's a much more kind of high stakes environment, and that competition of the top 36 decks had 75% of those decks as a specifically Luris the Dream Den Grixis Delver deck. That is such an enormous amount of the meta to like it's an unprecedented level of domination in a format. And there is something to be said for the idea that it might just be because it's on Magic the Gathering Online and these cards are slightly cheaper and it's already a powerful archetype, and that kind of didn't need to change its deck list much to accommodate Luris in the sideboard. Even if it's only changing like one or two cards, you can kind of slot that in there without really having too much of an issue. But it's still representative of such a massive kind of domination and prominence of one card that it can streamline. Yeah.
Previously, Stonefall's Mystic was banned for the same reason that it was so prevalent in white decks, because there were two converted mana cost cards that generated value just by finding an equipment in your deck and putting it into your hand. And most white decks could run something that gained like value from that. So the fact that Luris is almost in the same, they had to make a change.
And it's always interesting to see, like, because as we say, like the set's only been out 2 months and it's already been banned in Vintage. There was, I can't remember, it's actually been banned in Legacy as well. I don't think it was. I think the Legacy announcement happens later.
Is that
but it, like
turnaround for banned
yeah,
cards?
it's not the fastest ban that's ever been, but it's up there.
So the set was released on paper on the 15th. On the 18th was the banned and restricted announcement. So it was 3 days of being on paper. It was banned, but it's not the fastest it's happened.
But that's still been like the cards have been
so
online for
a
month.
And that's kind of where most of the controversy has come from, because it's been played online in such a high degree. The conversation about its power level kind of was accelerated by that. So it's interesting to see the community collectively go, oh, this is a problem. And that be fairly quickly responded to by Wizards. They tend to be a bit better about that and when it's such an immediate and unanimous discussion, as it is kind of exemplified by everyone being at home playing online.
Yeah, sure. Speaking of being at home playing online, how have you found the transition to like playing MTG?
It's been interesting.
At a table.
I miss shuffling cards.
Sure.
Sometimes I'll just pick up a deck and shuffle it for a bit. I've got my modern deck sitting next to my computer through in the living room, and sometimes, like while something's loading, I'll just be like, "I'll just shuffle some cards."
Sure.
And I miss that, and I miss like there's something.
Dice.
Oh yeah, obviously there's something to be said for being like online with friends and how that can be a good replacement for social interaction, but it can never like when you're in person, you're throwing energy out and you're getting energy back.
Yeah.
When you're online, even across the screen, looking at the same person, you're throwing energy out, and your laptop can't give you that back. You're not feeling their presence, so it can be tiring. It can be kind of exhausting at times, but it's really good to be able to sit across like from people, even just on voice chat on Discord, and like play. We play on like Cockatrice which is a free kind of middleman ostensibly. It's a card simulator that you can upload your own like card art and card text to, so people have put the entire like history of Magic on Cockatrice, which is really good because it means rather than like playing for Magic Online, you can sit down if you've got people that aren't able to kind of put that financial strain on themselves, like month by month. You can sit down with this free system and you can like play with each other like Commander, and because everything's free, you can put in some like absolutely busted or incredibly expensive cards that you wouldn't otherwise be able to play with. So that is definitely a benefit of that. And in terms of like standard and standard like formats, Arena, which has a much nicer automated like user interface, is a really good system. It's not as kind of social. It's usually like you're on the ladder against people that you've never met, but
you can't really talk to them. Like you've only got like emotes essentially that you can talk through. There's
a chat in the bottom left, but that's only if the two of you like are friends on Arena as well. So unless you've got Discord and are like sitting on there at the same time, there's no real interaction there. One of the really interesting things about the transition to particularly Arena, though, is with the introduction of like the historic anthologies, which what they're doing is rather than having just standard present on Arena, they're slowly putting more and more kind of older sets and cards from older sets on for like essentially for direct challenge formats. So you can play with all the like standard decks that you used to love to play, but I've rotated out. And if you've like spent, so the way getting cards works on Arena is you can either crack packs and hope you get what you want, or you can spend wild cards, which you get from winning games, cracking packs. You can buy packs to get wild cards and so on and so forth. And like completing daily challenges gets you these as well. And you can then dig through Arena for the cards that are available at the time, and you can spend wild cards to essentially get a copy of that card in your library. But that means if you've like spent actual money on like a set of say 90 packs to get a bunch of wild cards to finish a standard deck, and then that standard deck rotates out, you've spent money on cards that you can't play. Like in paper, if you do that, you can put those in a Commander deck, you can put those in a Modern deck, you can put those in a format that doesn't rotate. But on Arena, with Standard always rotating, those cards become obsolete. So because of that, they've introduced this format called Historic, which is all of the cards on Arena. There is a banned list, just because some of them are so powerful when you combine them with like older sets. And from that, there is a new format that's cropped up called Gladiator. I've posted a couple of times about it in the MTG chat and the Discord for the cafe, and it's essentially 100 card singleton starting at 20 life, where there is a banned list. It's Oko Thief of Crowns. That's the only card that's banned because it's the most powerful planeswalker that's ever been printed.
What does it do?
Everything into elks.
Yeah. Yeah, you're no longer allowed to play Magic.
Elk.
It's 3/3 with no abilities.
Yep. So you can have like, for example, Emrakul, Daeon's Tome, one of the most powerful creatures that's ever been printed. It's got like Annihilator, so whenever it is declared as an attacker, the defender needs to sacrifice an amount of permanence. Can't be countered. If it would be put in a graveyard, shuffle it back in. It's got protection from stuff. But Oko can turn into a 3/3 elk.
That's the 3/3 Alquino abilities, baby.
Yep. Like,
Cool.
like a
Anything
creature
beyond-
so powerful it had to be trapped in a moon in the story.
It's an
And
elk now.
Oko can just go, you're a 3/3 elk. Done.
Anytime you field a creature, which is your primary way of threatening a planeswalker, he just shuts it down. It's a card that turns its own answers into nothing. It's just too valuable, which is why it's the only banned card in the format. But it's been really interesting because it's all of these people that would usually be playing in paper, playing either like Canadian Highlander or like, because it's primarily that kind of singleton kind of community that's come together and been like, hey, we should make a new format. And over the last like month or so, there's got over 1,000 members in the Discord. Yeah, so even just right now, there's 970 people online, and the majority of these people will be like from the US or from Canada. So it's really become a massive thing pretty quickly, and that's really interesting to see a format spring up because of the circumstances that we're in. And it seems like it's a format that's going to last a long time. I've been playing it quite a lot, and it's among the most excited I've been about building Magic decks for a while, because every time I build a new Magic deck, I'm like, oh man, this is going to be so expensive. But on Magic the Gathering Arena, it's all free.
Nice.
It's just, do you have the wild cards? You never, like, sure, you can spend money to buy gems to get packs, but you don't ever have to do that. If you're doing your daily challenges, you're getting like 500 to 750 gold for every challenge you're doing. You're getting like 4 to 5 challenges a day. So it takes you a couple of weeks to get enough to crack like 10 packs.
Yeah.
And that's, even if you're only playing it like every 2 days, you're getting enough that you're making wild cards and you're generating wild cards all the time. So you can always just build new decks. And if you've been playing Arena for a while, you've already got such a massive range of cards, including cards that you can't play anymore, that you can slot like one copy in of. And the good thing is you only need one copy because it's singleton. So you don't need to be like spending 4 mythic wild cards for your 4 planeswalkers. You're just, one will do, and you throw it in, and it just goes really well. So it's really interesting to see the way that format has kind of cropped up out of nowhere with everything that's going on.
Sure. So do you think that more people playing Magic on Arena and Cockatrice or any other kind of online software for playing it, do you think that's been a positive thing for the Magic community, or has it just been about facilitating being able to play and socialize?
I think it's both. I'm never going to say that more people playing a game I enjoy is bad.
No, sure.
And everyone being stuck inside, the uptick of people playing like Magic Arena has been sizable. A larger number of people have started playing it recently. And there's been like a recent announcement from Wizards about reorganizing the tournament play for the year to be online via Arena, and massively reducing the cash payouts as well from the previous like 4.2 million across all the different like tournaments to like a total of 750,000. So it's a massive reduction in cash payouts. And
how was the reaction to that?
Bad. Bad. And understandably, because it's like if you're going to something and suddenly there's like 10% of the payout that there was before.
Well, yeah.
Usually, if you top 8, you usually get something. But now, if you don't win, come second or come third, you're not going to get anything.
Yeah.
So there's no value in attending these tournaments, because even if you top 8, that doesn't mean anything. You spent the money to attend the tournament, to pay in for the games, to probably get overnight stay. You spent money on fuel or other travel to then not get anything back. Even if you top 8, it's not as important anymore because you can't grind into the top slots. They've changed the way their kind of tournament qualifying has worked, so they're bringing in a lot more like Twitch streamers, and like this isn't a bad thing. They're bringing in people who have a following, who are popular, to be more prevalent in the tournament cycle. But that means that you can't just jam PTQs and get to the top 8 anymore. It means that you can't sit down and just play as much as is physically possible and hope you get good enough to win. You've got to also have a following if you want to be like in with a good chance of getting into a tournament. You can still do it without it, but it becomes a lot more difficult to do. And that is something that as well a lot of people were frustrated by, because it really changed the way a lot of people viewed tournament Magic.
Yeah.
I think this was always going to happen. They've been focusing a lot on Arena. Like the last 2 set trailers have had Magic the Gathering Arena as the logo at the end of the trailer, whereas previously it was just Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
So they're really pushing Arena as the main mode of play. So I think it was kind of inevitable. They're never gonna stop paper Magic. It's especially Commander. It's too valuable to them. It makes them too much money. But it's certainly not their primary focus.
Yeah.
So that's been something that's interesting to see the community respond to. In terms of like the local community, though, it's not really caused much of a buzz because none of us play in tournament Magic.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I remember like seeing that Wizards were making the push towards online Magic and not providing as much support to places like us, like local gaming cafes and gaming stores, and that felt like a bit of a gut punch. Like,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, very much so.
Like as much as it can be difficult to stay on top of like reporting Magic events to Wizards all the time, like I'm bloody terrible for it.
I mean, yeah, we're supposed to report every Friday Night Magic we have, right?
You're supposed to
all the wins
every
and losses.
single game that's ever been played.
Yeah, you're supposed to report
Yep.
everything. Yeah.
Every single game, and like there's not enough hours in the day for that kind of thing.
Especially with the old system. They're updating the system for doing that. It might become slightly easier, but
yeah, the
still.
new system is called Event Link.
Yeah, something like that.
We're in the process of trying to sort it. But I like seeing them try and move away from paper Magic as their primary focus is like it just felt shit. Like
it's just bizarre. Like the company has been going for like 6 years or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
And for the last like 23 of that, like most Magic is played in your LGS, in your local game store.
Yeah.
And they made Arena, and suddenly they just want to completely avoid local game stores, which is just alien, like absolutely alien.
Well, it's the value of like microtransactions. Like you don't necessarily have to and making it automatic reduces a lot of the complexity of the game.
Yeah.
So it really draws in particularly a younger audience where the aesthetic and the gambling of packs and stuff like that is gonna affect the amount of money that people spend. And you know, if you're thinking, the £2.99 for whatever, or the $5, the £5 to get enough gems to pick up a couple of packs, it's not that much. I'd be spending more if I was doing it in paper. I'll get that, and then a couple of days later, you need a couple more wild cards, so you do that, and like people are gonna that is gonna happen.
Yeah.
So you can squeeze a lot more money, especially like with the fear of missing out with like the idea of the Mastery Pass, because the way the Mastery Passes work is it shows you if you don't have the Mastery Pass and if you do have the Mastery Pass next to each other, and the things you get per level. And if you do have the Mastery Pass, obviously all of the things you get are a lot better and a lot more frequent. So if you don't have it, you're watching your thing tick up and looking at all the things you could have gotten if you just paid that money. And it's grim, honestly.
Yeah. Like that that mindset that a lot of big companies are kind of falling into now about microtransactions and like squeezing pennies wherever they can, like making purchases like ubiquitous and relatively cheap, instead of like rare, or well, not rare, but instead of kind of like more spaced out and more expensive. It seems very sneaky and like just really shitey corporate behavior.
Absolutely.
It makes me kind of sad and angry.
Yeah, it makes me sad.
I mean, even in
like there was a huge like fallout that general populace had with like EA when Star Wars Battlefront came out because of various issues. But like they never changed anything and like continued to do the same practices. Like there was a massive outcry and then nothing. Like they just went, "Hey, we're angry." On to the next thing.
EA went, "Okay."
Essentially.
I mean, EA has been doing that for ages. Like
I know, but like it's because of like Twitch streamers and YouTubers and all these online profiles that get 15,000 people watching their live streams and donating money, and then those whales essentially just go, well, I'll just chuck like 200 quid into this so I can get everything or get all the cosmetics or all the extra good shit. And I think more and more companies are just going, well, it's working for them. Why want to work for us?
Yeah, absolutely.
You had an excellent joke last week, Blair, that I only caught when I was editing. I didn't catch it when we were actually recording, but it was about EA, and you were like, "It's not even in the game."
Oh, really?
When I was editing, and it made me laugh because obviously it's not in the game unless you buy it through a microtransaction.
Sure.
It was an excellent joke. So a belated well done for that.
Thank you. My face went like bright red during the podcast because I was like, "Did they got that? Maybe even like stifled a laugh at that."
Aye.
I'm lost.
I still didn't get it because my internet connection cut out there for a moment, so I missed the whole joke. And honestly, I came back in. You know, like that way where to show a character is funny in a show, they'll cut to like a punchline but not tell the rest of the joke, and they'll have everyone laugh. It was like that. I came back in and it was, I'll just buy it through a microtransaction, and you both laughed, and I was like, Blair is funny. That's.
Jeez.
I mean, would you like the joke? Because
honestly, no. I feel like I'll be disappointed now.
I'm not going to deliver it.
You probably will.
Yeah.
You had to be there.
Absolutely.
Or just
like even
the entire
like I hate the sound of my own voice if it's not coming out of my head directly. But like even outside of online magic and like. Not to accuse Wizards of the Coast of trying to squeeze money out of people, but I think more so this is more like they've branded this year as the year of Commander. So there's a lot of Commander products and like Commander focus this year, and they've had like the mystery booster box thing from earlier in the year, and they've had like a bunch of secret layers. So I have a list here of all of the products that have already been released this year and have been announced for the rest of the year. Just to kind of put into perspective the sheer amount of stuff that we're getting all the time. And it can be kind of tiring at times to have your hype level so high all the time for things. But there is, from the beginning to the end of this year,
trying to save money to like be part of everything's a nightmare.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got Theros Beyond Death. Then we've got Secret Lair Year of the Rat. Secret Lair Stargazing ×5. We've got Unsanctioned. Then there was Secret Lair International Women's Day. Then there was the Secret Lair Thalia. Then there was the Mystery Booster Boxes. Then there are 4 Challenger decks. Then Ikoria came out. The Ikoria Commander sets, 5 of them. Secret Lair Godzilla lands. Secret Lair Fetches. Signature Spellbook Chandra. Core Set 21. The Jumpstart set. Commander Collection Green, Double Masters, Zendikar Commander sets, 2 of them, and Commander Legends, all this year. 4 of those are draftable sets that you're like the encouraged form of play is buying a box and drafting with your friends. 4 draftable sets in a year, and that's, I guarantee there will be more Secret Lairs throughout the rest of the year for like various like holidays and things that show up, because those are only announced shortly before the thing is released. So that it's a massive amount of products that are just being
the likes of the double masters that's coming out, like that's a set that like a booster pack that usually contains 15 cards, one like rare or better, and sometimes a foil, and now has like at least like a mythic or like it's got something stupid, like it's got at least 2 rares in it and stuff like that. A box of that is costing normally like, or going to cost about £200 for the box minimum. And
Absolutely.
people like that's in between like what 4 set releases this year.
Yeah, with Zendikar, Ikoria, M21, and Theros Beyond Death.
Like how can you
That's
it's 5 draftable.
It's not even 4 draftable sets, it's 6 draftable sets, because Commander Legends is designed as a draftable commander set. All Masters boxes are always designed for draft.
So like how is your player base supposed to like sustain that level of spending? Like
that makes it difficult for us as a provider of the product.
That means like our customers are going to need to like pick and choose when they're getting stuff or when they want or want to get stuff. Like it's just eventually you're going to be like saturated.
Yeah,
where you're just like
absolutely.
I'll buy this just now, but like such and such put out in a month, so like I can't be bothered anymore. Like I'm not spending like
particularly something like Double Masters. Especially something like Double Masters, which is like because it comes with at least 2 rares or mythics and 2 foils in every pack, and those 2 foils can be up to 2 additional rares, which is such a massive amount of value. Obviously, there's still 15 card packs, and there's only 24 packs to the normal 36, and it's going to be more expensive probably than a normal Masters set because of the increased potential value in a box. Because Wizards of the Coast got rid of recommended retail price, people are going to be able to sell it for whatever they want. Like the Ultimate Secret Lair, the one with the fetches, was advertised as around the same price as a Commander Anthology, which I would like to remind everyone is 400 card decks, which is 400 cards. That was about £165, which is not an insignificant amount of money. The Ultimate Secret Lair was 5 cards.
5 cards for 165 quid.
It was one of 5 out of the 10 fetches. It wasn't even all 10, and it wasn't even a play set of the 5. It was one of 5 things. They justified the inflated price point by including a large box. It was a large display box that you could display your fetches in.
Wow.
Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah.
That, because they got rid of recommended retail price, and people knew people would buy custom art fetches, people ended up selling them for £300.
Wow.
And they sold out. Without recommended retail price, people will just price gouge. And that's what, I think it was TCG Player that did that. Like, which is bizarre, because they're usually real good for cheap product. And it's watching that happen to something like Secret Lair fetches, and then with Double Masters, something that's got so much potential value, they will absolutely justify saying, okay, yeah, usually a Masters set would run you like 200 quid or 195 quid. This will absolutely sell for the same as like Ultimate Secret Lair. And that's grim. Because they're never going to get that kind of value back out of the box. Like even if you crack like a box topper Liliana of the Veil, which I don't even know if it's in this set, not enough it's been reviewed, but like for Ultimate Masters, the month of release, a box topper version of Liliana of the Veil, which there's like a 2% chance of you getting, was selling for like 325 quid for the one card. Which is obviously fantastic. If you pull that card, you've absolutely made your money back and more. The likelihood of you doing that is not high. I got 2 boxes of Ultimate Masters, and I broke even in terms of value, but I didn't even sell all those cards. I just mostly kept them and played with them. I traded fairly recently. I traded a box topper Snapcaster Mage to Connor for a normal Snapcaster Mage and a bunch of other cards. But that's like, you're never really getting your value back unless you are just buying and selling cards.
Yeah.
In which case, you shouldn't really be playing the booster box game, because there's no guarantee that you're actually going to be able to buy and sell cards and make a profit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's frustrating to see such a saturation of product with no guiding price point, because it's a saturation of overpriced product. And that's not on Wizards Coast, that's on the people selling it who think they can up the price without anyone getting mad. But
But
it
I
means
don't
that
think Wizards of the Coast help in this situation. Like,
I mean, no, by getting rid of recommended
RRP,
retail price.
So.
Yeah, like they absolutely are not helping the situation at all.
Aye, like that made it a wee bit difficult for us and like other cafe owners and game store owners around the country. Like, there was a lot of confusion about what we should actually be selling products for. You know, like, do we try and stick to the kind of RRP that we have been, or do we like drive it up because that's what the market's doing, or you know, like we've
and I know like
to keep RRP more or less the same. I think we've inflated a couple of things, but not where boosters, and not where booster boxes.
Absolutely.
But you know, it's a bit of a situation, man.
I'd say the least.
But for like, I look at RRP as a guideline of how we go about profiting from the products that we buy from that supplier, you know. And so when that's not there, it's really difficult to judge or gauge the kind of reaction we would get for setting an RRP. If it was maybe too high, we'd get backlash, or too low, and that like we just wouldn't make any money. Or it's a difficult kind of minefield to navigate.
Very much.
It's just added complication to the kind of business model, you know.
Yeah. All in all, though, Akori has been a great set.
Cool.
And the artwork's been really nice.
The artwork has been fantastic.
Some of the Godzilla cards have been cool.
The comic book art, the comic book all arts have been very interesting. They've done like Godzilla promos. So your box topper for physical cards, and you can get like Ultra skins on Magic Arena, are all like named cards from the Toho Studios like Godzilla franchise. One of them being Godzilla King of Monsters from the like 2014 and then 2018 films, or 2017 films. And like Mothra's in there, King Caesar's in there.
Like for example, like Luminous Broodmoth, which is a card that looks kind of like a moth, I guess, has been named as Mothra. Void Beckoner has become Space Godzilla in an alternate art, and the list continues. So Baby Godzilla, Mecha Godzilla.
So these cards still exist in the set without the original art cards still exist.
The original art cards still exist without the Godzilla stuff. Interestingly, the Godzilla copy and the normal copy, so like Mothra and Luminous Broodmoth have the same name. The name printed in the nameplate portion of the card is different, and the art is different to be like a promo. But the rules text of the card will still refer to Mothra as Luminous Broodmoth. The reason for that is that in like tournament play, it's to prevent you from exceeding your maximum number of cards. So usually you're only allowed 4 of in a deck for like standard or modern. But if you had like Mothra and Luminous Broodmoth, and those were 2 different named cards that had exactly the same rules text, you could legally play 8 because they're different cards. So the way they've got around that is by having the rules text refer on Mothra to Luminous Broodmoth to show that this is just a promo of this other card.
So like the alternate art stuff also still has the normal name of it just underneath the nameplate, and small writing, but it's still like I'll have Mothra Supersonic Queen, and then below it in small writing it'll still say Luminous Broodmoth to show that it's
italics, right?
Yeah, to show that it's actually just an alternate art of that card.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah. But I like I really like the artwork so far. Well, I like the Godzilla stuff. Everything else is just like, well, Magic the Gathering's always had like great artwork, but
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
been quite nice to see like the Godzilla subset.
It's just a shame that the King Kong rights are so convoluted.
Sure.
Because there is a card in the set that is just King Kong.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic card as well. Really powerful card that is super cool and has art that is completely reminiscent of King Kong. It's like a tall mountain or a tree or something. The ape is hanging off it. There's like a bunch of birds flying around him, like that scene with the planes that everyone knows. And it's literally just King Kong. But they couldn't legally make an alternate art King Kong because the rights are between Toho Studios and Universal, I want to say, or the people that did like Kong Skull Island.
Yeah.
And that's not like there's not an argument going on there. It's just that the rights had been leased out, so they couldn't use it and give them it to Wizards of the Coast temporarily just for this purpose, which is a shame because that would have been really interesting to have available. Mostly because I want to do. Are you aware of the upcoming sequel to the most recent Godzilla movie?
No.
Okay, so you know how Kong Skull Island and the two recent Godzilla movies are in the same universe?
Sure.
Well, they are. So Godzilla's going to Skull Island to fight King Kong as the next movie, which is funny because King Kong has never won this fight. In the entire history of Godzilla in Toho Studios and the entire kaiju run, Godzilla versus King Kong has never gone well for King Kong. And particularly in the most recent movie, Godzilla got such a massive power-up that there is absolutely no way in hell King Kong wins this fight. However, I would love for there to have been a King Kong alternate art so that I could have a King Kong deck and a Godzilla deck, and then I could let them fight.
Sure.
That would be cool. that would be a good like board game, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
I mean, we should design it, man.
Aye, let's do it. That'd be
Let's
cool.
try our best.
Yeah. And by that, we'll fail for like 3 weeks and then say, Kaylee, design this board game for us.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the show, Jen.
No problem.
Having you.
It's been a wonderful time. I haven't spoken to anyone real for weeks, so this has been a treat.
I'm glad we could accommodate.
Fantastic.
We're even real.
You know what? Don't put that in my head, man. That's
sure.
Blair's been a generated AI for several months now.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Russ just keeps hitting shift. That's why I keep like moving to the left of the Zoom meeting.
I keep accidentally hitting tab.
Man. Right. I'll see all of you at some point.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, man. Everybody, you can check out the Unboxed store on our Facebook page if you're into Magic the Gathering. Play FNM with us. If you stay in Ayrshire, we'll deliver packs to your door. Follow us on socials. Just subscribe to the channel.
Yeah.
And
like, subscribe, and stuff, and do other things. That stuff and things plugged.
Yes.
Yes. So good at this.
Okay. And we'll see you next week, man. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, maybe.
Maybe. Hey.
Maybe. We'll see. Hey, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.